And right now at 5, the murder of conservative political activist Charlie Kirk is heightening concerns about the rise in cases of political violence across the country.
The man behind the young conservative movement was killed in what is a familiar setting for many politicians and activists, a college campus in front of hundreds of people. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear today saying this should never be the response to beliefs you disagree with.
Yeah, we have seen widespread condemnation, and what we've got to see is it happening not just when there is an act of violence, but when people's rhetoric could create violence. You can't fan the flames and then condemn the fire. So what I'd like to see is leaders on every side condemning the type of speech that just goes too far, that suggests that one group of people aren't American or don't deserve to be here, or incites violence in different ways. I'd like to see us speak out against all of that.
And the governor went on to say he knows how angry this kind of senseless violence can make people, but lashing out is not helping people come together for solutions.
Now tonight, we're going to have the latest on the investigation into the fatal shooting coming up. But first, nationwide, we've seen political violence on both sides of the aisle.
From Minnesota to Pennsylvania to Capitol Hill, here's ABC's Christiane Cordero.
It's a problem that transcends political ideology, from the killing of Minnesota state lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband at their home, the targeted attack on Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro at his home, to assassination attempts on President Trump, and yesterday, when a gunman shot and killed conservative activist Charlie Kirk. All of these acts of political violence happened in just over a year, and they contribute to what officials and law enforcement are warning is the most dangerous threat environment since the terror attacks on September 11th, 2001. Some leaders today are calling for cooler heads.
I'm trying to turn the temperature down around here.
But with anger at a boiling point, several Republicans insist Democrats are to blame.
Blaming Democrats for
I absolutely am.
Doesn't that risk raising the political temperature?
No,
Doesn't that risk
no,
making
this
things
is
worse?
about Charlie Kirk. This is what the left has done to brainwash people who are already mentally ill, already mentally fragile. And to take it away from that is bullshit.
The tension in Congress hit a nerve last night when House Speaker Mike Johnson tried to initiate a prayer on the House floor.
The House will be in order.
One Republican yelled, "Y'all caused this," across the aisle. Some Democrats shouting back, "Pass gun laws." Today, some members of Congress are trying to share a more united message.
There should be no finger pointing, because this is an attack on our democracy itself.
I'm not going to point the fingers at either party. Both party has guilt.
As a sign of the times, today's September 11th ceremony at the Pentagon was moved to a courtyard at the center of the building instead of its usual spot outside. The White House says that decision came after yesterday's shooting. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Now tonight, here's what we know the latest at this hour. The FBI releasing these pictures today of a young man who they are calling a person of interest in the shooting. Authorities saying they've been able to track the movements of the suspected shooter on campus through the stairwells and up to a rooftop. That's where they say the shot was fired.
The FBI recovered a rifle from a wooded area that could be connected. They're doing forensic work on that rifle, looking for prints or DNA and trying to track down the owner of that weapon. Well, if your tomatoes haven't grown well this year, you're not the only one with a green thumb that's dried out. It's been tough this year for farmers, too. Most of Kentucky is officially in a moderate drought. So our Ian Hardwick and photojournalist Jessica Farley went to LaRue County to see how the corn and soybean harvest has been affected by the wild weather.
Historic rainfall delayed planting this year on Fresh Start Farms. Now a moderate drought forced Ryan Bivens into an early harvest. It's his 24th, one of the worst, but he said he'll keep working the fields.
Oh, rest of my life.
The neat rows of corn bound for bourbon distilleries show how Kentucky's moderate drought hit LaRue County. Brown stalks run up the hills, some pockets of green poke out in the low-lying land. The difference in yield, Bivens calculates, will cost him $1.5 million this year. Bivens compares brown stalk to the green.
That's what it all ought to look like, and instead, we've got stuff that looks like that. It's a pretty visual difference you can see right there.
This year's bad news for the soybeans too. They're growing right now about knee height when really in years past they come up to the waist. But there's another problem. You can't see clearly. The pods inside, those beans aren't growing as big as they used to. Confirming the wild weather, director of the Kentucky Climate Center, Jerry Brodsky.
If you look at January through May of this year, we were the wettest year on record out of 131 years. If you look at August, last month was the driest August on record out of those 131 years. So he's absolutely right. This has been a crazy year in Kentucky weather.
In the face of constant extremes, Bivin is bound for life, no matter the weather. In LaRue County, Ian Hardwitt, WHAS11, on your side.
So we're going to be dry for a little while longer. It appears so. Our chief meteorologist, Mallory Snell, is joining us to talk about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, drought conditions will just continue to worsen because it's not only that we're going to be drying out in terms of no rain chances, we're also heating things up. So that's really going to dry out that soil even more so. And
you're looking far ahead, too. I mean, you say there's several days ahead.
I mean, we're talking that entire 7-day forecast I have dry right now, and heat continuing into probably next work week as well. So we show you this drought monitor. Of course, as you just heard in that story, January through about June or so, very active. We had a snowy winter, we had a rainy spring, and then really we just turned off the fire hose, especially throughout the month of August. We heated things up, we dried things out, and we're continuing to track that moderate drought. Once again, the drought monitor, this is released every Thursday. That's when we do get that update. And we do have that tan color along and south of the parkways there. Satellite and radar, most of us are dry. You're seeing a couple of those radar returns out there this afternoon. But most of those, a couple of sprinkles, very stray thunder shower around Evansville. However, Kentuckiana area staying dry with just some puffy cumulus clouds that have developed today. A live look outside from our Bachman Auto Group cameras, part of our Shriners Children's camera network here. Mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies over the Ohio. Temperatures are in the mid-80s, so definitely warmer than we have been, but close to that climate normal. Humidity stays on the low side, and we have a nice northeast breeze around 10 miles per hour. So no issues this evening. Temperatures in the 80s will drop into the 70s around sunset and eventually the 60s overnight. Your bus stop forecast for Friday morning, lower 60s as that sun starts to rise. Highs tomorrow will be topping out in the mid to upper 80s. But as we mentioned, we're drying things out. We're heating things up. We'll take a look ahead at our warm weekend forecast. That's coming up in a few minutes, guys.
Thank you very much. More of our top stories for you here on this Thursday. The effort to loosen regulations for an addiction medication in Kentucky has now been delayed.
We told you last week about the state's strict rules on buprenorphine, which is used to treat people addicted to opioids. Now, here are 3 things to know about it. It's better known by brand names like Suboxone. The drug is designed to help reduce cravings and lessen withdrawal symptoms. But Kentucky's Medical Licensure Board worries without strict regulations, people will become too dependent on it.
Tonight, Isaiah Kim Martinez is here. He has an update explaining why an important meeting about this was postponed and what this means for this important medication moving forward.
I have to go here to Exhibit A.
Dr. Colleen Ryan of Louisville takes me through this 19-page list of recommended changes she and other advocates of buprenorphine just submitted to the state.
Most people these days are comfortable with home inductions, which means that the patient can be at home.
Ryan, an addiction medicine specialist, wants to make it easier for Kentuckians battling opioid addiction to get the treatment from their doctors. She says Kentucky's current rules are far too restrictive.
People have to come a certain number of times the first month, a certain number of times the second month. You have to get so many urine toxicologies. They're very cookie cutter, and their laws, they should be guidelines.
Ryan was in the room when Kentucky lawmakers and the Medical Licensure Board decided to postpone a critical meeting planned to discuss potential updates to the current regulations. The board requested this line-by-line explanation from medical groups who want to loosen restrictions. Ryan worries it's just a delay tactic.
Are you confident that the board will roll back some of these based on what you heard in that meeting?
I'm not confident. I think dialogue is always good. I just don't know coming out of the meeting that anything will change. I can't say for sure.
Just last month, the medical board declined to repeal the regulation, saying it, quote, prevents the casual or inappropriate prescribing that can contribute to further dependence and unintended consequences. I asked Governor Andy Beshear last week if he would support loosening restrictions on buprenorphine.
I don't have a problem, though, in looking at regulations over time and just making sure that they are balanced, that they are meeting the needs of Kentuckians. So that's something that if a lot of our advocates for recovery who are doing amazing work think we need to take a look at, then at least we'll sit down and review it.
Now, I reached out to both the executive director and general counsel of the Medical Licensure Board, asking if they're open to these changes requested by advocates. I did not get a response, but I did find out this meeting between the board and lawmakers is now on the agenda for next month. Isaiah Kim Martinez, WHAS 11 on your side.
It's been 24 years since the September 11th terrorist attacks.
The solemn memorials marking the lives lost today from Pennsylvania right to the Pentagon and, of course, New York City, as ABC's Olivia Rubin shows us.
Crisp, clear, bright blue skies over downtown Manhattan this morning, much like they were 24 years ago on the day of the September 11th terror attacks. Memorials today to remember the nearly 3,000 lives lost in New York, Virginia, and Pennsylvania. At the Memorial of the World Trade Center, a solemn ceremony with moments of silence marking the exact minutes when the hijacked planes hit each of the Twin Towers and when those towers collapsed. Woven between the reading of the names of each person lost that day, the solemn process lasting hours.
Anthony Alvarado.
Alejo Perez.
Angel Perez Jr.
Natalia Booker lost her uncle that day.
He was in the South Tower on a high floor and he just never returned home.
Laura Cross lost her husband, a firefighter.
I do enjoy coming here and seeing it and feel a sense of calmness.
In Shanksville, Pennsylvania, bells tolling to remember those passengers who stood up to hijackers. That plane crashed into a field instead of a target in Washington, D.C. And at the Pentagon today, a flag marking the place where another hijacked plane crashed. President Trump paying tribute.
Yet here in Virginia and in New York and in the skies over Pennsylvania, Americans did not hesitate. They stood on their feet and they showed the world that we will never yield, we will never bend, we will never give up.
And tonight, another tribute here in New York from where the Twin Towers once stood. Two powerful beams of light will be sent up into the sky from dusk until dawn. In New York, Olivia Rubin, ABC News.
This morning here at home, the Louisville Fire Department gathering alongside city leaders, paying tribute to the first responders lost in the attacks. Louisville Fire Chief Brian O'Neill highlighting the selflessness of firefighters that morning, knowing they were running into a dangerous situation, doing it anyway, a lesson he wants new firefighters to learn about, saying something similar at their graduation ceremony just 2 weeks ago.
And I mentioned empathy. Empathy as a quality that is absolutely necessary for a good firefighter. And I believe it's true for any first responder, police, EMS, firefighter. That was personified 24 years ago today on September 11th. The type of empathy required, that care for somebody else, to recognize the suffering in others and realize that you can do something to improve it and to run towards it.
September 11th is considered the deadliest day in the history of the fire service.